Hey guys, my name is Surya, and I wanted to thank everyone for being here today to celebrate the life of Srinivas Gollāpudi, or as me and the rest of his grandchildren call him, Tatya. We are simply overwhelmed by the influx of people who have come today to help support the family in these hard times, and we are very grateful. There's not much we can say about my grandfather that most of you already don't know, but I wanted to take this time to tell you a story that meant a lot to me. My grandfather's life was a lesson to me, to simply put it. He showed me that there is no bounds. No matter what obstacle comes in your way, there is nothing that can stop you. My grandfather, someone who had lost his eyesight at a very late age, did not let it stop him. He did not let it get in the way of his ambitions, his goals, and his dreams. He continued to travel. He continued to entertain his family. He continued to play with his grandchildren when they were little kids. And he never stopped, no matter what obstacles got in his way. There's not many people in this world like my grandfather, and I personally couldn't have felt luckier to have such a role model in my life.
Has been a guide and mentor for so many of us. His words have always had a strong impression on me. A couple months ago, when I met him with my husband, I asked him for a piece of advice for married life. He said, "Don't have expectations from each other. Love and value one another. And everything else is secondary." These words will stay with me forever. But that was him. He always made an impression. Similarly, when we asked him for advice for life, he said, "Give and take." This speaks to how much he valued giving back to the community. He always prioritized philanthropy. The hostel he built in Vettapalam enabled so many children to complete their high school education. Even his work with Aim for Seva, the Rotary Club, and all the fundraising he did for the community center in Cochin, and volunteering for the soup kitchen in Toronto. Once, I couldn't help but ask him what tasks he did in the soup kitchen. He proudly replied, "Oh, I cut the vegetables." And then he proceeded to demonstrate by chopping an entire cabbage. It's truly incredible. This just goes to show that no matter how difficult it was to accomplish a task, it never discouraged him. Tatya's zeal for life was unquenchable. Even after accomplishing so much, he wanted to learn more, know more, and be part of so much more. In the last decade, he immersed himself in Vedanta. But it wasn't just knowledge for himself. He wanted to share it with everyone, and he wanted to make it accessible to one and all. The 5-minute Gita lessons many of us receive every day is a prime example.
Tatya has always been a larger-than-life personality, leaving a lasting impact on anyone that had the opportunity to interact with him. He was the kind of person that just couldn't sit still, and he wasn't happy unless he was working on some project or another, usually more than a few at the same time. And whatever he started, he would jump head first into and just figure things out along the way. I remember back when his eyesight wasn't completely gone and he could still see shapes and lights, to observe how he progressed as his vision regressed continues to amaze me. Every day he would come up with a new clever technique or way to adjust to blind life. And pretty soon it seemed like it was nothing more than a minor hindrance. I would even help him with various carpentry and building projects, and it always amazed me how he could visualize and realize the end result. His perseverance wasn't just an inspiration to those close to him, but also to the greater community. He was a mentor to other individuals learning to adjust to blind life. He had an enterprising spirit, whether it was building new businesses or building hostels in villages, or even if it was building a playhouse from cardboard and scraps around the house to entertain kids. His life, with its ups and downs, its highs and lows, truly reads like a novel. As this chapter comes to a close, a new one surely begins. In fact, Tatya himself said it best when he told Âthma, "We are traveling together on this train, but each of us have our own stop. We cannot know whose station comes first, but when it arrives, we must get off. It may be sad, and goodbyes can be hard, but the others need to continue on with their journey.
So the last time we all came together as a family for Tatya's 80th birthday, we performed the Mrityunjay Puja. The literal translation of this puja is something along the lines of death-conquering mantra. And a lot of people think the purpose of this mantra is to really prolong life and pray for a long life. But Tatya showed us the true Vedhāntic meaning of the ritual, which is to pray that when you die, your soul should leave the body easily and without attachment, to conquer the attachment to the physical world and achieve true victory over the fear of death. A big part of Tatya's life was his journey with Vedanta, and his teachings in this subject provided a very unique lens, one that only that we can only experience from Srinivas Gollāpudi, for us to view the world and carry in our suitcase on our travels. So recently, Rachanaka interviewed Tatya and Nāmam on their lives and their stories and just things that we would all be curious about. When asked to pick a day in his entire life that he could relive and do again, any guesses on what that day would have been for him?
College.
Wedding day.
Close-ish.
Wedding day?
Yes. What was it?
Wedding day.
Exactly. He said he would want to relive his wedding day. I guess it's pretty clear that Tatya was a true romantic, but his choice shows that he did not want to change the story of his life or redo the day differently. He led a life with no regrets and preached it as well. In fact, Rachanaka even asked him, do you have any regrets in your life? And he responded that his only regret was that he was not a good boy when he was younger. What a man. We all try to live our life regret-free, but actually living it is truly such an inspiration. What a legacy is left behind for us. What was preached by Tatya and started with the puja, as a family, we are so happy that we were able to witness the realization of that desire.
So at this point, you may be wondering, why are the grandkids giving the speech? Why not the kids? Part of me thinks they just didn't want to do it. They were like, let the grandkids handle it. But the other part knows the real reason. The relationship between grandparent and grandchild is special. It's one of the purest forms of love that there is. A grandparent doesn't have to worry about keeping us safe, disciplining us when we disobey, making sure we're fed, or any of the other boring parts of parenting. They're done with all of that. Now they can just sit back and shower us with unconditional love. Tatya took full advantage of this unique position. He got to be as silly and as playful as he wanted with us. Tatya played hard with us kids, and as I grew up, he would quip with me just as playfully. But the best part, even during those games, he would always sneak in little life lessons and morals, and we wouldn't even know he was making us learn things. He used to play this game with us where he pretended to be a traffic cop. He pulled us over while we were making screeching car sounds and disrupting the entire household, and asked us for all our information, including name, address, license, registration, all these things. At the time, I thought it was just a fun game I got to play with my grandfather. But I was informed a few days ago when retelling the story that was actually to teach us to have our addresses and home phone numbers memorized in case we ever got lost or separated. I still have that phone number and address memorized, and we haven't been there since 2008. Throughout our childhood, we would find chocolates stashed away in hidden places all around our house, but they only showed up whenever Tatya came around. When we questioned him about it, he said it wasn't him, it was the genie that he was friends with. He always found a way to make the most mundane things feel magical again.
As you can imagine, for a man that prioritized relationships and people and connections and community over everything else, his life was a tapestry of stories. Stories are a big part of our culture. It's how traditions are preserved and how family history is shared. Stories and essays were huge tools in Tatya's repertoire, Our parents often shared their memories of writing essays as his birthday gifts. He'd offer debate topics as dinner conversations. For example, back in 2013, his kids wrote messages to him for Father's Day. Here's what they had to say.
Hi, I'm Chandru, the youngest son. This is a note from 2013, like Shweta said, for Father's Day 2013. I was excited when Mom asked me to write a few things about Dad. In my usual ways, I procrastinated, but it was in the back of my mind, and I thought about what Dad was to me and to others around him. I was soon overwhelmed by thoughts, and soon the excitement transformed to confusion. How could I be precise and capture all the thoughts? Then I remembered what he used to tell me and my siblings at dinner some decades ago. During my childhood, dinner time was a very special time. It was at this time when the whole family got together. Dad used to be so busy with his work that this was the time for family. I remember that he taught us how to prioritize, make decisions as we debated over trivial issues like planning a weekend holiday. During dinner, we used to discuss pros and cons, make priority lists, etc. Just listening to him was a lesson in leadership and management. As days went on and we got older, one day I was totally taken aback when my oldest sister and brother talked back to him. I wanted to bury my face in the plate of curd rice in front of me and disappear. But then I have to say, he graciously adapted to growing up of his kids. It was not easy, but he adapted just like he used to tell us and about how we had to be open to different opinions. As we got older, the dinner table discussions were no more a monologue. They used to be heated discussions and debates. He understood and endured them and even encouraged them. This is off script again, this is not here, but if people from outside saw some of those dinner table discussions and debates, they would be shocked, believe me. And we were just having a calm discussion at that. Imagine what a heated discussion would have meant. Okay, back to script. This is what I wrote in 2013. He used to get mad when we took it personally. It was never meant to be personal. For him, it was about getting the best out of everything and everybody. He taught us how to have objective discussions without making any personal attacks. Now, several years later, he showed us all what it means to adapt and change. Most of us know that blindness barely slowed him. He adapted to blindness and life in Canada with gusto. Life has put many miles between us, and we don't have the dinner time talks anymore. But I'm sure we all miss the gusto dinner time talks. It was one of those things that you realize how much you miss after the fact. It was one place we could all show our vulnerability and not be afraid of being judged. I have to say, in some aspect, it has made us what we are today. Thank you, Dad, for making this happen and being there for us.
Hello, this is Bhaskar Gollāpudi, the older son and the second child. Dad, my gift this Father's Day is a box of sweets. Sweets of a very special flavor called Sweet Memories. Beginning with a confession, as a child I was somewhat afraid of you and would try to be out of sight whenever possible. Behavior in your presence was different from when you were not there. Jumping, shouting, running, etc. Meal times would be with a book. I would continue reading while eating, completely ignoring mother's protests. Moving on, I remember your dinner time pep talks to the family. Our dining table was indeed my first lesson in personality development. I remember you introducing me to chess. We replayed the Karpov versus Korchnoi World Championship matches. We played only a few times, but that was enough to ignite an interest that would take me to the university team. I remember attending family events in Rotary Club, watching you there, and at Cochin Andhra Cultural Association were great lessons in life. You never had a separate public life and a private life, always projecting your original style. Writing essays as your birthday gifts was most unique. I still remember some of the topics that I wrote: misuse, solar eclipse, anger management, etc. You thrusting us into various activities gave us so much exposure. Marching in Republic Day parade at New Delhi, the youth exchange trip to Bombay, sailing on One Vikas to Port Blair were all once in a lifetime opportunities. What is a kid up against when he crashes his family scooter? Shoutings, curfews, bans? Actually, none of these. Not even a single word of scolding. That is what we learned when Chandu put down a new Bajaj scooter. Would being brought up in such a nourishing atmosphere not really be sweet? This, Dad, was my box of sweets for your Father's Day.
For Father's Day 2013. What do I write about Dad? This got me thinking and talking about him to my children. As a kid, I remember that we had a lot more freedom to do what we wanted than most of my friends. He let me take an overnight travel on a train from Cochin to Madras with my little brother even before I was 10 years old. Such was the environment we grew up in. As a teenager, we, that is my brothers and I, were free to choose what we wanted to do during our summers. My brothers did carpentry or plumbing, and I got into dance workshops, etc. He had so much trust in us. I don't believe that I ever realized this at that time. Just took everything for granted. He drove me to all the dance and Veena classes and took me to all concerts and dance performances. So many times and so much time that a lot of people thought I was an only child. Well, I'm sure when he drove my brothers to their activities, the crowd there thought he never had a daughter. More recently, he has been so supportive when we lost my husband Suman. There were so many things that he has taught us by just being the person that he is. Fearless, open to suggestions from all, though he likes to convince everyone that he is the best. Ultimate optimism, more recently spiritual insights. In short, for all those times I left it unsaid, thank you. Thanks for being there for me. For being patient with me, even when I did not agree with you and fought. And being such an inspiring presence in my life. And as each year passes, I'm even more glad and grateful and proud just to call you my dad.
Kayena vacha manasaireya bhujaratmanava prakrite swabhava karomi yasya sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayami.
These were just a small fraction of the memories Tatya has left us with. Please do feel free to share your own memories and experiences with him in the condolences book that we have at the back. We now request a few words from Tatya's spiritual gurus, Swāmi Dayānandā and
Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Punaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shānti Shānti. Om Bhadram Karne Shrunuyama Devāः Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraः Sthirairangaistuštuvāgam sastanubhihi Vashrema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhasravaः Swasti na Usha Vishvavedaः Swasti nastarksho arishthanevihi Swasti no brihaspati dadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you very much for inviting us to today's celebration of life of Srini. We have been close to Vedhāntic Society for almost last 15 years. And it was amazing to see how all the physical discomforts didn't stop him from traveling to our York, near Etobicoke, in 120 Emmett Avenue, from the place he was living. And participating in soup kitchen, as one of the grandchildren said. He could chop vegetables, he could find a knife, whether it is sharp or not. I was also scared. But he used to do so amazingly. Not only he did for himself, but inspired other people, especially people of Telugu community and others, to come, and many have joined after that. I found in his life that he was very brave, and nothing could stop him from doing the thing that he liked. And I feel that he was a yogi who practiced at least 3 yogas. One is Bhakti Yoga, he was born with that, devotion to God, to Narayana was in his blood from tradition. He was Karma Yogi, that showed how he was dedicated to this soup kitchen. And having Padma as his wife, when he said the most important day for him was the day of wedding, it was not just romantic in that sense. It was finding a real friend, a true friend who will stay with him for whole life until the death separates. And that Padma did. Every time she was there with him, and all his difficulties, she was with him, serving him all the time. So that day was very important, of finding a true friend in life, true spiritual friend, true lifelong friend in time. That is Padma Gollāpudi. And she has been such a wonderful mother, grandmother, friend, devotee, whatever you can say. It's a great loss for us, Padma, but God is there, and He is with God, and His blessing is always with you. You will never be alone. For some time, it's really very hard. You can feel that it's really difficult for you. But you will really miss, we all miss him, but your missing is something very deep that we all, none of us can really feel or can imagine how deep is your loss. But your support was great for his life. And he was so brave, one of the grandchildren say, he was brave, he was guiding, he was inspiring. And the third yoga that he practiced is Jnana Yoga. He was in contact with Swāmi Paramārthānandā, Swāmi Paramārthānandā in Chennai. And whenever he went to India, his sitting, his teaching, his classes were important for him. And he used to go and do the things. Not only that, he learned from him. He used to share with me what he learned. And once he gave me Vivekachudamani, whole speech, his classes, whole Vivekachudamani, and that I utilized for my class of Vivekachudamani in Toronto. So Paramārthānanda's talks given by Srini to me. And he also is sharing that 5 minutes Gita. I told one Kartik today, one Kartik Sundaram. There was another Kartik Venkateswarā that in Venkateswarā. That was in Toronto with me, young man. He got married and now settled in Bangalore and moved back to India. He studied here. And when I said Srini passed away, he said, oh, We remember so much, we love him so much. He was very close. That Karthik Venkateswarā was also very close to elderly people. He said, I remember his 5 minutes Gita, that is for living. And to our, it is his inspiration again. He said he was not satisfied to become spiritual himself. He wanted spiritual knowledge to be spread and go through to his children and grandchildren. And that's why he gave the responsibility to his younger son, Chandu. And Chandu is doing that very nicely. And he stopped doing, and still we get 5 minutes of Viveka Chudamani nowadays. And Chandu has taken over that job, and I think he will continue. And I think that series will continue, and many people will be aware of our great treasure of our spirituality. That's what is the lamp called Srinivas Gollāpudi. And that lamp, he knew how to burn other lamps, how to light other lamps, and he has lighted few lamps, and from that many lamps of spirituality, knowledge, bliss, and service will be lighted. We need to practice all the yogas, karma yoga, raja yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, and make our life fulfilled. 3 of the yogas are seen done very exclusively by Srini in his life. And he used to invite me, and he was so happy, and ask Padma, all the hard burden he used to invite, he used to be happy. But Padma had to cook. This is green papad, this is green dosa, this is regular dosa, this is idli, this is vada. All the varieties of South Indian food, all made by Padma. So she was having difficulty, pain, and no, nothing, so Swāmi is coming, you have to make this thing. And all Sri Padma, it was so delicious. Not only that, when just after his passing, about 1 week ago of his passing, he invited me. I knew Padma, it would be difficult for Padma to make. He invited me to a place, and there was again nice paper dosa was ready, and we shared, Padma, myself, Srini, Ajay Barman, and Bhaskar had come from Houston that time. Earlier, you see how much this support, they said his sons and daughters, so much supported daughter, you know, how she was with them, and she supported everything. But the son, when Chandu came from where he stayed in the US, you were in there, and then he came here at COVID time. There was COVID time quarantine, and when he came, 14 days quarantine. He was stuck in his room, but it didn't stop him. Like his father, all his sons are like their father, so nothing stops him. And he came and stayed 14 days in his room and quarantined and begged. He was there to be with his parents. And Bhaskar came just recently, and we had that meeting, and we had the nice dosa and the food, and he went there, and this accident happened, and he passed away. God willing, he definitely, they say there are 2 kinds of going away when you leave this world. One is that we go Brahma Mukti from here to Brahmaloka, and then we have Mukti from there. Another is Pitriya, that's called Devayana. Another is Pitriyana, when we go to the world of maids. And there we rejoice there with maids, good life and like a heaven, and then we come back as a human being and again do the practice. There is 3rd way of passing away for the Jnanis. When they pass away, nothing happens. Just they merge in the reality, they are always in the reality. I wonder which type of movement I would see dear Srini has done. I believe perhaps it is the 3rd type, because he was a Jnani by nature. And perhaps he just merged in the infinite truth where we all belong. Thank you very much.
Namaste. The very first time I saw Srini Māmā and Padma Māmi, it really surprised me and I was really frightened. In SVPF, I was taking Saudari classes. For the introduction class, I see 2 very elderly people entering, and Srini Māmā with nice Nāmam entering for the class. So, 2 things made me think much harder. One is, they are so elderly, who am I to talk in front of him? Secondly, when I see the big Nāmam, he is a Vaishnavite. What am I going to talk? But slowly, class after class, I realized he is beyond Vaishnavite, Shaivite, no classification, he is beyond. And he was very much into Vedanta. And his questions used to inspire me to go dwell more deeper into the subject and come up with something new, which we all enjoyed. So that is one aspect of Srini Māmā. He was always with smiling face. Smiling face. And he used to make us feel at home to any subjects we come across. So that Srini Māmā, not only he prepared himself and Padma Māmi, but he has prepared all of us to face this day, this moment, in such a wonderful, very different, divine way. Don't you all agree with me?
Yes, yes.
I have attended many visitations, cremation ceremonies, but today, right now, I am feeling so different, and I feel the presence of Srini Māmā. With his limitation of the body, which we all have, the limitation of the body makes us contribute to the society to a very large extent, and contributing to our own self also is limited. Now that he doesn't have that limitation of the body, he is free to serve the whole world. And his inspiration, when he was giving us with that limited body, is now free to inspire us unlimitedly. And his life, I would say, he is Vedhāntic of life. He is Vedhāntic, the seeker of knowledge, till the end. And he is Vedhāntic for life. Vedhāntic in life. So that Vedhāntic status, which we all have enjoyed during our school days, college days, no worries of any other thing but Vidya is playing on our mind all the time. That was the only goal we had. So imagine Mama living that happy life of Vedhāntic till the last minute, how it would be. So with that joy of learning, he made his life very smiling, peaceful, inspiring, and he made all of us so inspired. So today we are really celebrating Srini Māmā's great life with his immense knowledge, service mind, and so friendly, which we all enjoyed. So let us all give him a very hearty smile and laugh, so that he continues to smile and laugh all the time, which he is doing. Thank you.
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्